Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Timothy Patrick and Will Foley, are by no means professionals. However, having lived experience with mental illness themselves, they have gained useful perspectives on common mental health issues that some of us struggle to overcome on a daily basis. By sharing their stories, they hope to create connection. By creating connection, they hope to help you find your purpose. And through purpose, we can all begin to build the foundations for positive mental health. This is the Above Ground Podcast.
Are you ready to lace up your boots, throw up your horns, and jump into the pit? Then let's stomp the stigmas of mental illness. It's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now, Will Foley and Timothy Patrick.
Welcome back, everybody,
Welcome back
to another fun-filled episode of the Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast, because you can't surf below. Are you down with TPP?
Yeah, you know me.
What's up, Timmy?
What's up, Will?
Dude, not the temperature.
My ambassador of Stomp.
Your ambassador of Stomp is a little lost these days. He could use a blueprint.
Yeah? We all could use a blueprint, right?
That's right.
I think that's how it could start, with a blueprint.
Well, you need a blueprint to figure out what you're going to build, right?
Yep.
You need directions.
Yep.
You know, you need that mechanical, you
Almost,
need the electrical guide, you need all that stuff to
almost
start
like
building.
goals. Similar to goals, you know? It's like maybe like listing your goals, but in a more formatted way.
I like it. So what kind of format we talking about?
Well, you know, I started to write out some stuff, and I was kind of like, I picked like 4 things: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual.
Those are good things.
You know, and then list make a list under each one of those according to, you know, and then kind of build from there and figure out what, you know, maybe write down some of your values.
So is this like a personal blueprint for a personal mental blueprint?
I mean, anyone could do it.
No, but what I'm saying is, when we're looking at it this way,
Oh, yeah.
because when I look at those 4 things, I'm thinking, okay, those are inner things that you got to work on. So it's like the
self. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're all self here. Those outer obstacles are mean nothing to us.
That's right, because you got so many inner.
True.
That's why.
Sure, we got enough problems
That's
on
right.
the side that we don't need.
We don't need to
anything else
borrow
on the
trouble. We
outside.
got enough of
We don't need
our
to borrow
own.
trouble.
We got enough of
do
our
not
own.
need to borrow trouble. Got to have courage, right? The first one on the list. So, yeah. So, like, honor your values. Write down your values. You know. Pick one and work off of that. If you wrote down like respect for self or respect for others, work off of that, and then, you know, pick whichever one suits you and what you want. This is something that, you know, each individual, you know, has to sit down and you know, their blueprint is going to be custom made for themselves. You know, you have to make your own blueprint. You can't just go somewhere and meet somebody and be like, hey, can you make my blueprint for me?
Sure. Because when I saw these 4 headings and I was immediately like, okay, the 8 dimensions of wellness. Because these
You've
are 4 of
about
them.
that before.
These are 4 of them.
Are they really?
Yeah. So the 8 dimensions of wellness are physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, environmental, financial, occupational, and social.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of person-centered therapy, a lot of person-centered help, Carl Rogers, it's all based on these this wellness thing where you're basing it on the positive stuff, the trait,
Yeah.
You're looking at it from the person-centered part of it.
Okay.
But I knew that those were like part of the 8 dimensions. That's why I was wondering what if this was more for like fertile ground for the mind. Like you're going to look at these things and be like, okay, what do I have? What do I need? Where am I lacking?
Sure.
Where am I?
I mean, yeah, right? What do you think? I mean, again, everybody...
Almost like putting a fake book together of songs and having all all the keys in there and all the chord diagrams and stuff.
Yeah, it's all just I guess blueprints just came to mind because it's like you were saying, like we all, if you're gonna build a house or whatever, you need blueprints, you need plans, and I think it would help. I feel like for myself, like I started to write down some things, like I wrote allow myself to feel feelings.
Get all the feels.
I wrote showing up, opening up, speak more of death, not in a negative way, just as in a general way, because I feel like maybe not for some, but for most people, like no one really puts that into a conversation. You know what I mean?
What about death?
Yeah. Like.
Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think we don't like to talk about death?
Well, it's kind of like the final curtain, I guess, right?
See, I'm not afraid to talk about death.
Well, yeah.
We're not. That's why. Because, you know what I mean?
But I think kind of what we do with mental health, as talking more about mental health, talking more about stigma, suicide, bringing up those conversations. I just, for myself, more of death, but again, not as a positive or negative, just to, like I know personally for me, like growing up, like was never talked about, and like even my grandfather died, and like I'm like, what happened? Like what? And it was just like, we don't speak of that,
Well, the crazy thing was, because speaking of grandfathers, I had this like thought the other day, and I remembered when my grandfather passed away. I was 11, and I was playing. It was the only year Little League I ever played, and I was the oldest kid on the team because I played with the league before the league that I was available for because I couldn't go to tryouts or whatever because I couldn't get there or whatever because and I had a game on that Friday night that my grandfather died, and I wanted to go play, and he loved baseball. Like, he would have much rather had me go play that game. I'm telling you right now.
I believe it.
But I was made to stay home and watch everybody wallow in their own fucking pity. And I held on to that anger for a long time.
I see
because because again, you're making the decision
Right.
of your grief on me when it's not your choice to make.
Right. But it also, at the same time, it doesn't. I mean, I understand the grief, but at the same time, we could, like make it more of a memory of his life, or their life, whoever we're talking about. But I'm just
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, right. But,
instead of just like.
But at the time, you're like, but I'm sad too. Why don't my emotions count? That's why you need to do blueprints like this, because you've gotten so many of those things trapped in you that you
Right.
haven't been able to excavate them.
Right. And some of them you may not even know when you're creating the blueprints. You can always go back in. You know what I mean? You can have your blueprints and then like a year later, maybe fine tune them.
Sure. But of course, if you got blueprints and you're building something, got to make sure whatever that foundation
Well, you
is,
gotta have
because
a
we've
good,
talked
strong
about
foundation, yeah.
cracks in the foundation. Now, if you've had cracks in the foundation in the past, okay, before you endeavor to build another house, man, those cracks got to be fixed. Because again, you build one house on shaky ground, and you move that shaky ground, well, that shaky ground's coming with you.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you want to believe it is or not.
You're right.
The more you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Again, I just feel like it's a good little tool. I think it can help people. Like in a way where journaling does. Just get your ideas out.
Well, these are good prompts. If you were to take just those 4 and not look at the other 8 dimensions of wellness, you could literally have prompts for journaling for a month.
Oh, absolutely.
Just on these 4. Then you
Yeah.
could take the next 4 and you could do that. And then after you got so good at it, you could take all 8 together and you'd start working it out where you'd have all these lists of goals and stuff. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily goals. They don't have to be goals. Okay. This
Right.
isn't, we're not trying to coach you necessarily, but
No, I think I just whether it be a floor plan or a technical drawing. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
So anytime it's schematic.
Yeah. Just guidelines. Right?
Yeah,
You could
yeah,
say
yeah.
that.
An outline. There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
An outline. A rough outline. This is what you could look for. Just look for these 4 things.
Yeah. And maybe you could add more onto it. I honestly did not go by that, but I don't know. I that's what I at the time I that's what I wrote down.
In 100% transparency, these are 4 that always pop up in all my things. There's a couple other things that I add, like I add something for family or money, like financial, like the financial part, like always pops up into things. But even when I'm just looking at just trying to make lists, like, and for myself, like when I start like that, this is where I kind of start with, because it's always about the spiritual and the mental and the emotional, because that's where all my issues are. Now, don't get me wrong, I have some physical issues too, but I'm those are easier to see and work on than the mental and emotional and spiritual issues are. And I think that's where the foundation comes, because the physical part you don't have if you don't have the faculties of the mind. They work in concert together, man. And they both need each other just as much.
Yeah.
And one does benefit the other, and the other benefits the other. It's just that's that yin and yang thing.
Yep.
They need each other to
Seems like
balance.
that way with everything, as you know.
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
the secret, man. That's why Alan Watts laughed all the way to the grave, because he's like, you guys are looking at the wrong shit.
I know. Yeah.
You guys got all caught up in this.
Yeah. You got.
And now we know this, and we're trying not to get caught up in it, but it's hard not to be sucked into it when you're balls deep in it anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, I'm serious.
No, I know.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I know. I mean, that's why, I guess, really, that's why I wanted to kind of do this episode. And I think I feel like blueprints
Even the dog thought that was funny.
can help. I think blueprints can, be a positive thing, in putting some structure, and in return, I know it's not the same as setting goals, but like it can help with your reaching of the goals that you have.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep track of things you're doing, because basically your emotional state is going to reflect back to you what's really working and what's not. Because when those things come up in your meditations in the morning, or they come up, in the office during the day, and all those things that are coming up for a reason. And it's to tell you that this is the next thing you need to work on, and look at this look at this on your sheet tomorrow morning, or look at this tonight when you're journaling before, wherever you do it, or however you do it. Whatever you do, man. You may just walk around your yard and talk to yourself like I do.
Barefoot. Like a hobbit.
Yeah, I look like a hobbit, so why not?
That's true.
They don't call me Willow for nothing.
What are some things you would put on your list?
Well, first thing is, if I was looking at my emotions, I would look at it from the standpoint of where I was feeling today. So today I'm a little bit irritable. I've been that way for the last couple weeks, and I know it triggers it, but I'm still irritable. I'm a little bit fearful. Just because as much as I require change, I'm reluctant to take it on. And I don't do well with change, even though my personality knows it needs it, because that's the only way that things stay fresh for me.
So in your blueprints, you could write, like, have, have courage, like build that in there somehow. Sure.
And then, like, spiritual part, just put a practice together for a week, because unfortunately I don't sleep very well. So I've been sleeping later in the morning than I prefer, because I haven't been getting up until like 20 minutes before everybody else has to get up, when I'm used to getting up at like 4:30.
Right.
But a few days of getting up at 4:30 is like by the end of the week, I'm just like.
Which could contribute to the irritableness.
Right, which contributes to the irritableness, which contributes to me wanting to eat shit all the time.
Yep.
And just, I mean, it cycles through. But I would need to get those few things I would need to get those three wrapped up with the physical part of it, which is just to walk every day. And the last few days I haven't been walking, but I was walking every day up until then for like the last month, and I felt great.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that not walking like every day was going to affect me. And then with just busy weekends, the next couple of weekends and stuff, it's been hard to fit everything in.
Yeah.
But, I can fit in, a half an hour shoving my fat face full of food. So then I can shovel my feet outside to take a walk if that's the case.
Right. Well, some of the stuff, it takes a little bit more...
takes more energy to put a good thing in.
You're absolutely
right. And if you don't have the energy, see that's the thing about energy suckers, man, because they're everywhere, and you got to be aware of them because they'll just suck you. You won't have any juice in the
leeches.
Yeah, leeches. They suck the energy right out of you.
Yeah. Yep.
Energy vampires.
So maybe in your blueprints you could build like some kind of a protectant against like energy suckers. Maybe install like a certain kind of lighting or like sound system that like keeps them away.
I try that, and then that sound system gets taken over too. It does. Like it gets hijacked.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, back to the drawing board. Damn you. Well, what about you? What's on your blueprint, man? I see some of this. So
focus.
I like your showing up. How are you showing up? How are you putting that into?
Well, I think in the past I've always kind of taken in the easier road.
So avoidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. All right. Well, dude, you call it what it is. I mean, it's avoidance.
Yeah.
And that's a trait, but again, that's a loop that we learned a long time ago because you avoid things that cause you pain.
Right.
But again, it's the human condition also.
Right.
We're conditioned to try to shield ourselves from pain. Hence the reason why in traumatic situations people actually black out and go to another place so they because their body cannot physically handle that.
Right.
Knowing that's happening, that it shuts down and it protects them.
Yeah. I think also I want to make sure that both Will and I, we do the podcast, we try to do some groups. We're always trying to put things together to to raise more awareness, to lend a helping hand, give people some space and try to help out and maybe teach people some of the things that we wish we had known 10 years ago. So instead of just like being here and talking about it, I want to show up and actually follow through and do some things that will be beneficial, I guess.
That's cool, man. That's good. That's part of the next stage of life.
Right.
When you have that, you got a little, I don't know, trying to think. You probably have another few years of your stage now in the Chinese zodiac. I was having a conversation with our acupuncture friend.
Oh yeah,
and
because
I'm into the zodiac because this year was the year of the rat, 2020, and it's my year.
Oh,
this is because it starts because I'm the first. It goes by the year you were born, not by the month. So I was born.
Oh, okay.
So I was born. This is my year, and I was reading about just all these kinds of different connotations on it and what the personality, and I'm I got a lot of those personality traits.
Huh.
And
he
stuff.
Knows, he knows a lot of stuff of different things.
He's a very well-traveled dude.
Yeah,
he's
he
a good
is.
dude, man. He is.
Yeah.
We're gonna have him on the podcast too at some point.
Yeah, we are.
We'll talk acupuncture and mental health and opeth.
Yeah. And music, yeah,
And music,
for sure.
Yeah, music for sure. But like you know, you start to like for me, I would have to break this down at the most basic level. And that's where I think it should be, at the most basic level, so you don't put too much pressure on yourself to, like, even if you can only think of one thing for each of those four, or even if you don't even want to think of all four, maybe you just want to think of physical and mental. Maybe that's all you can handle right now.
Right.
And maybe getting your physical health actually gets your mental health a little bit better, because if you're taking a walk, those endorphins are running, or if you're inclined to run, or
Yeah.
or you're going back to the gym or doing whatever you're doing.
I agree.
Then those two things, pardon me, will help you get back on track to start looking at the emotional and the spiritual. Because I think it's hard for people to look at themselves emotionally when they're baseline, let alone when they're off.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of, I mean, when you're, depending on how off you are, it's kind of hard to do a lot of things.
Well, that's true, man. Because I've heard in recent weeks, I've heard stories from people of just like despair, man, and it's like, you know, it's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's a scary place to be.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of it out there.
Well, there is,
but you know, there's also hope.
There is, but it's awfully hard to start keeping track of anything when you don't feel like doing anything as it is.
Yeah,
Like,
that's whole. Yeah,
you know, and that's why it's.
That's why you need blueprints. That's why you need to like start some, honing in on things and being mindful of like Will said earlier about, like, he realizes some of the things that trigger him, and that's actually a huge step. Just realizing what they are, and then you can pinpoint it, and then obviously you can start digging up that root and figure out what you need to pull out.
Yeah, dude, I just did this in my own yard over the last couple of weeks. Just pull out some trees.
Did you?
Yeah, like in August, we had some trees that were dividing my neighbors and mine yard, and we had already tore one out the year before, and we actually doused it with baking soda or whatever it was, where you put, like, you inject it.
Did it work?
No, dude, it came back. So I got really mad one day, and I'm like, I'm taking this, I'm ripping this out. But what you don't realize is that you've got 80 sets of roots that are connected everywhere. So that's just like your negative thoughts.
Right.
Like, you can't, it's going to be hard for you to rip that root out until you start clipping one at a time and you trace them back. And obviously we know if you don't get enough of that root, that shit just grows back. Right. And some of it will, but that's why you got to cut it back as much as you can, and maybe setting yourself up with like a little blueprint and seeing how you do with it is a way to get you, to snap you out of whatever funk you're in. And I know, and look, if you're in a funk, you don't want to get up. All you're doing is sleeping. It's hard, man. But I guarantee you're still up to go to the bathroom. Even if you were just to write something down in the bathroom. Yeah. Look at it for a minute. Just one thing to just get you thinking. The idea is to put a thought in your mind. It's not to get you to... we can't act on it for you. You have to do this for yourself, just like we have to do it for ourselves. But at least if you hear somebody say, you can do this... You can do this. Anyone can do this, okay? Nothing can't be done. I mean, except for maybe, if you're my size and my age to get into the NBA. That's probably never going to happen. But I'm not delusional to think it can.
He's used his radical acceptance skills.
That's right. I've radically accepted that I will never be an NBA player, okay? Long time ago. I rapidly accepted that.
And on the positive side, he can be a stand-in for Willow.
That's true. You're right. I probably could do that. Yeah, I probably could do that stand-in. I bet I'm pretty close to the same size. Well, hey, man, I'm not kidding anybody.
I know.
If I was to say I was 6'3", and then you met me, you'd be like, what? Yeah, no, sorry. I am what I am. That's all that I am. Because I got blueprints, bitch.
That's right. That's right. But you can be what your blueprints are, too, you know?
Well, you can certainly work on your blueprint
Sure.
and figure out your route, man. We're talking a lot about constellations these days because we were talking about maps and connecting the dots. And I just like the thought of constellations because you've got all these stars up in the sky that look like just some random portrait. Yet, if you connect 3 of these to 3 down here to these,
Like a picture.
you've got this beautiful constellation that happens.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it's like you connect the dots. So what happens is those constellations are your insights. And those insights trigger the next thing. You just need one insight. You just need one book. You just need one song. You just need one breath. That's all you need.
One episode of Above Ground Podcast.
Okay, shameless plug. But you do. That's all. You just need one. Just one spark, man. One. That's all it takes. Just one on the right piece of kindling, and the whole thing goes poof.
It's true.
And it's burning, man.
Will's living proof. We just had that discussion not that long ago.
Yeah, dude. One. That's all it takes, man. It's just one thing. Just one phrase. One. Mine was "Don't die with your music still inside you." That's what it was. You know what I mean? That's what it was. It cracked me open like a walnut, man. Like that's what it was. It was just that at the right time, in the right tone,
Dr. Wayne Dyer.
at the right, like just at the right circumstance, just at that, stepping off point to say, okay, let's start escalating this to make this real, man. It's got, all you need is a little space and just a little bit of, just one thing, man, one thing, and I guarantee you, I would say this, that everyone that listens to this has one thing, okay? One. Doesn't have to be a person, okay? It can be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be your dream. It can be, it can be your dog, your cat, or your other pet, or it can be your friend. It can be a family. It can be anything. It can be the bug on the street. It doesn't matter.
Can
if
it
you
be a
have
stuffed animal?
Sure. Whatever works. Whatever works, man. If that one thing keeps you, I mean, shit. What was the Tom Hanks movie where he was lost on
Volleyball or whatever?
Yeah, dude. And all he had to do was open the box and the cell phone was in there. But he didn't because he had these diehard rules to himself, man, and he friended a volleyball. Like, and that was one thing that got him through that whole ordeal. Like, you can say he was crazy for not opening the box because he didn't exhaust all his options at the time. Because I would have opened the box because not being able to get off the island, nobody's getting.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Love that movie.
That's all I can think of.
What's in the box? You don't want to see that.
There's sins at every corner.
Yeah, dude. Oof. Yeah, that's
a good
That's
movie.
a great movie.
That's a good
that
movie.
movie is so good. That movie is just so good. And if you don't know what we're talking about Seven.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Brad Pitt. Breaking down.
Breaking down. Breaking Brad.
Breaking Brad. Brad broke after that in that movie. He was bitter after
Was he?
Samuel L. Jackson. Or not Samuel L. Jackson.
No, that was,
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
After Morgan Freeman retired. Because that was supposed to be his last, like he was supposed to be retiring.
Oh, really?
Even though he didn't really want to, I don't think.
He shouldn't anyway. He's the best.
No, from the police in the movie.
Oh.
His character. That's just, he was supposed to be on like his last day.
Yeah.
And then he gets the first.
He gets the
first
Yeah,
clue.
he thinks the guy's coming back. And
Yep. And he was right.
he was right.
They were right about everything.
They were right about
No
everything.
spoilers here, man. We are spoilers. I'll just tell you. So don't listen to us. Plug your ears.
Jesus.
I told you. The more I learn, the less I know.
That's true.
That's just how it is. Because there's sometimes you just get your mind blown.
What else you got? You got it? You got anything to add?
No, dude, I think Blueprint is a good place to start. Just find one thing. Just one. Find one. one song, one line from a song, one word,
One thing.
just one thing.
One thing. Do you think they should find one thing?
That's all it takes to start.
One thing.
One thing leads to the next.
One thing. One whoop beer can lead to another whoop beer.
And lead to sausage atoll. It just does. Root beer and pizza are the best. Especially sausage pizza.
All right. Well,
You know you tune in for our humor. You know that.
I don't know. They might not be tuning in for much longer.
Well, they better because we've got some good interviews coming up for the rest of the year.
That's true.
We got we're doing some stuff, man. We're gonna have some interviews. Like
We're doing
November.
some stuff.
We're doing some stuff.
We're doing some stuff. We
We're
got
doing
some
some
stuff, and we're doing some stuff.
Yeah.
No, we do. We got some good interviews coming up that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, this is we're starting our new format pretty much. We've kind of just gotten into this rotation of every other episode is us, and then every other episode is it's offset by an interview. So we're gonna be doing that from here on out, man. So I've been fielding emails from people that want to be on the show. I've reached out to several of them to say that I'm coming at them pretty soon. I'm just trying to
We're coming at you.
I'm trying to get my shit straight because I didn't realize what managing all this would mean. So I got to get myself a better calendar so I can keep track of stuff because I'm a little
Should've
disorganized.
told me.
I'm a little
I have a
disorganized.
calendar.
I'm a little disorganized. And when you're in this little disorganized brain of mine, then you're running around like I do.
On that note,
Until next time, be well.
be safe.
And be above.